Hello everyone and welcome to a book review. I'm going to give you a heads up right now. There is going to be more rough language in this particular video. So if you don't like that, head off. Okay, and that's because of the type of the book it is, okay? This is a book review, and this is for, as you will have seen from the title, for Addicted to You. This was written by Krista and Becca Ritchie. I'm guessing is how it is said because I think of Christina Ritchie when I see the spelling like this. So yeah, Addicted to You. This is book number 1 in the Addicted series. There are 5 books in this series. Now there is another series called the Calloway Sisters that is also written by Krista and Becca. Okay, now this is a romance, and it is a steamy romance, and the topics in this are hard. So do be aware of this. Okay, so this we're following, the main female lead is Lily Calloway, and then the main male lead is Lauren Hale, and Lauren goes by Lo. So I guess this would be considered more new adult, but it is definitely an adult. And this takes place at college. They are going to, I don't remember what college, but it's suggested that, you know, Penn comes up a couple of times, but for someone to transfer to Penn type of a situation. So they're not at Penn, but they are at a college. And it's a romance. Okay, now, this is not the typical romance that I've ever read before. Here's the thing. They are both enablers, okay? You have 2 different addictions. They are both addictions, but you have 2 different addictions. Abuse is mentioned, but it doesn't get into any real details. One, like the most explicit is that, well, even then, I think it's just that someone, well, I don't know if he even realizes that he did what he did, is like putting his hand on the back of someone's neck and then like squeezing to the point that it hurts. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but abuse is kind of mentioned over where it's like maybe an absent or emotional abuse type of a thing. So, okay, so this is book number 1. This was published in 2013. I did listen to the audiobook along with this, and the narrator was Erin Mallon. Great job. 12 hours and 4 minutes is the audiobook length if you're listening on 1x speed. So Lily has an addiction as well as Lo, and they are living together. Now they put on this front for their family that everything is fine. No one knows about the addiction. You know, people with addictions generally want to keep it hush hush. And that is definitely the case in this. So they know about each other's addictions. They enable each other's addictions. You do learn that off quite early. And it goes from there. It follows as they're trying to keep things secret. As things start to unravel, people are starting to pick up there's something not quite right. And then things hit the fan towards the end of the book. So, but you do sense the love that they both have for each other and that longing and desire and things like that. So let's talk about Lo first. So his addiction is alcohol. So you have a lot of alcoholism. It's to the point where people can smell the alcohol radiating from his pores. And he has to have a flask hidden somewhere on his body. He likes to go to the bars and he just drinks, like gets passed out, blackout, drunk, and things like that. So that's his addiction, is the alcohol. Lily's addiction is sex. And what I found refreshing about that is, I mean, it's an awful addiction, but it is an addiction. And I don't think it's talked about enough in the world. It is there. I hear a lot about drug addiction, alcohol addiction, and even gambling addiction. Those are the top 3 addictions that I hear people talking about and that I see represented in books are mostly alcohol and drugs. I don't see gambling. Sometimes when there's a gambling addiction, I've read one book that mentioned that someone had a gambling addiction, and that's it. It was like a family member had a gambling addiction, and I mean that's literally it. So I would like to see it explored more in books. I think that would be great to kind of bring more awareness that, look, people around you are struggling and there are many different types of addiction, and these are maybe some signs to look out for. People hiding things, the lies, but you're not always going to catch it until later. And the best thing you can do is try to be supportive and help them through to get away from the addiction type of a thing. And that's exactly what this did. It showed, so this is told all from Lily's perspective. And so you're seeing the addiction through her eyes as far as someone who's personally has an addiction, as well as watching someone that she loves deal with an addiction. So you're getting it from two different point of views. So if addiction is any addiction is bothering and triggering to you, you're definitely going to want to avoid this book, probably this whole series. So but I really enjoyed that. Now, Lily's addiction is sex addiction, and it talks about how dirty she feels and ashamed, and how she always has to get that high, that fix, which is the same as people with drugs and alcohol. The feelings and the longings and the desires are pretty much the same. It's just a different vice. It's just a different outlet. And it can be just as detrimental and life-destroying and hindering and as other addictions. So that's pretty much what this is. You're following as they're both struggling with their addictions, again, from Lily's point of view. Both of them come from a very well-off family, and you're seeing how one family is more supportive over the other family and things like that. So, and you'll see what it takes for some people to be considered hitting rock bottom to finally seek out reaching for help. A couple of things you do. Now, one thing that's in this that is not in this, that is in the audiobook, there is a little bit of a difference. In the audiobook, there's a couple of lines that are changed from the physical format. The audiobook adds in that there's one or two characters that could possibly be asexual. So the term asexual comes up just a handful of times, not at all in the written format. So do be aware of that. So there is possible asexual representation, but in the audiobook format. So a couple of other things to be aware of. You have giving an adult giving a child alcohol, like at the age of 9 is what is mentioned. So I can see that being very bothersome. And the other thing is that you do have a sexual assault that takes place, and it is depicted. So it's not to the point that it would be considered rape because there's no penetration or anything, but it is still sexual assault. It is still disgusting and awful and uncomfortable to read, but it is in there and it is depicted. Okay, so you do have the sexual assault. So I think I'm going to end up giving it 4 stars because I like how it handled the 2 different addictions, and the one person who has their addiction and can sympathize with someone that she loves that has the addiction and wants to help him, but the only way she knows how to help is to kind of enable him. And so you do have a lot of enabling in this book. And she doesn't realize, because she's so in the throes of her addiction, that she's enabling him and him enabling her. So that is another trigger. So do be aware of that. Okay, let's talk about words that are in this book that you might want to be aware of. Now, where this is a romance, and it does get a little explicit with the language. So there's your additional warning. So horn dog comes up once. Vagina once. I added this because it's basically the same as F off. So like piss off. That's, which I hear mostly from people from the UK. So that's in there once. Skank once. And then you have different types of forms of sex that are mentioned, like blow is in here once. Popped cherry once. You also have junk regarding to a man's part once. And I hate this word, but the word cunt is in here once. I really hate that word. Orgy once. Fondling once. Bestiality is mentioned once. Nipple once. BDSM once. Role-playing once. Oral once. Someone being hard, like they're having an erection once. Hooker once, and referring to a woman being wet in her sexual region once. Okay, so other things that come up, you have masturbation. It does not get explicit with the masturbation. It just mentions that someone masturbated or that they were going to masturbate. That comes up twice. You also have douchebag, comes up twice. The word child molester comes up twice, and that does not get descriptive. It is just mentioned, so that is in there twice. The word anal regarding like anal sex comes up twice. Penis isn't twice. Suicide is mentioned twice, and it does get a little bit more explicit as far as someone maybe thinking about contemplating suicide, so do be aware of that. What else? Rape is mentioned twice. That does not get explicit. It's just mentioned that someone could have been raped, or they could put themselves in a situation where they could be raped. So it's just mentioned. And okay, so moving on, the next highest frequent words used are bang, another word for having sex, 3 times, and horny is mentioned 3, balls, not the kind that a child kicks around, but male anatomy 3 times, come, as far as making someone climax and have an orgasm 3 times, cock 3 times. Next we have, is there anything mentioned 4 times? I thought there was. Oh, the name of Jesus is mentioned 4 times. Aroused 4 times. And let's see. Okay, and now we're on to 5 times. So the word bastard comes up 5 times, as well as whore. Okay, so you kind of see there's a little bit rougher of some language. And then, okay, sorry, I'm just making sure I have not missed any. Oh, another trigger. You have the mention of someone's drink being roofied. So please be aware of that. So this is definitely has quite a bit of triggers in it. So you have a roofied drink talked about in this. The word bitch comes up 6 times, and then alternating between orgasm and climax, a combination of the two comes up 6 times. Gigolo, don't hear that word a lot in books, but that comes up 6 times. And then we have the word slut coming up 7 times. So there's a lot of talk about how women that are addicted to sex are called whores, sluts, prostitute, you know, all these other, hooker, all these words. But it's not used for men that tend to be addicted to sex. So yeah, that's kind of messed up. That is messed up. Anyway, okay, moving on, we have the word prick comes up 8 times. And then another one that can be, 2 terms that are used are boobs and breasts. That is used 10 times in one form or the other. I just combine them into one because it's the same female body part. So boobs or breasts, 10 times. And then you have the word damn comes up 14 times. That could be in different formats like damnation or just damn. So just something to be aware of. And then the word shit comes up 26 times. Hell comes up 34. Ass 36. And then the word the name of God comes up 40 times. Okay, and not, sometimes it is in a religious sense if I remember correctly, but mostly not. Mostly not. So yeah, okay, so that comes up 40 times. And then, oh, this one I forgot to mention. It talks about porn a lot, how people with sex addiction can end up watching a lot of porn and the stuff gets harder and harder. So the term of porn comes up 26 times. And then the word that's in here the most is the F-bomb, which is fuck. That comes up 115 times. Sometimes it's in the term of having sex or, well, F, that kind of sucked type of a thing. So yes, it's a bit rougher on the language, but I liked how it really delved into addiction and how someone that's in the throes of addiction can love someone else that's in the throes of addiction, and they just end up enabling each other, and it ends up being a very toxic situation and relationship for them both and very detrimental. And I liked how, as some people that they kept trying to keep at a very far distance started to figure things out, how these particular people ended up being very supportive and trying to figure out what they can do to help them overcome their addictions. So I really like that. I look forward to see where this is going to go. So let me know, have you read anything by Krista and Becca Ritchie? Have you read the Addicted series? Or have you read Addicted to You, if you've, or not? Anyway, is this even on your radar? Talk to me in the comment section below, and until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book, and I'll talk to you later.